Hello there. What are you going to be eating once our agricultural land has been swallowed up by property and wind and solar farm developers? This Labour government from day one has been trying its level best to destroy the UK agriculture sector. So I went to a farmer protest today to give some support and see what's happening. And the farmers are not giving in. They are showing a magnificent resilience in the face of some shocking policies emanating from this disaster of a Labour government. And no, it's not political incompetence. It is a pure land grab to rob the farmers of their real estate cheaply, to enable Starmer and Rayner to provide housing for the ever-increasing numbers of newcomers to the country, and to also line the pockets of their net zero business chums who rake in all the dosh from the green subsidies attached to solar and wind farms. And all this will do is increase food and energy prices, while ordinary Brits looking for a house will be frozen out. Remember, we've just found out that Yvette Cooper's Home Office will be funding hotels for newcomers well into the future, meaning there will be no let-up in the numbers coming in and getting to stay here. Any new housing stock is already earmarked for them. And Keir Starmer thinks he can ram all this through to look good in front of his WEF chums and hang the consequences to our national food and energy security, not to mention ordinary people. So I went along to one of the many assembly points for today's nationwide farmer protest to give my support. This one in Weymouth. The meeting point was the advertised premises of the local Labour Party offices. But it seems that the Labour Party vacated them ages ago and neglected to leave a forwarding address. Just as well the way the country is being run by them at the moment. Maybe they're running scared and operating out of a secret HQ somewhere in Dorset. If anyone knows their new Weymouth address, please let me know, so the farmers can go to the right place next time. Now, I had a chat with one farmer, Justin Miller, and here's what he had to say.
Hello there, I'm in Weymouth today at the farmers' protest at what once was the Labour offices, or outside the Labour offices. They seem to have scarpered, and there's some farmers here, but I just want to catch up with this young gentleman here. So if you just introduce yourself and tell me your story as you told it to others just a minute ago.
So my name's Justin Miller, and we farm between Blandford and Dorchester, a village called Milbourne St Andrew. So the story is with the inheritance tax. My father is turned 79 this year, and my brother is 47 and I'm 41. And we would have to pay inheritance tax over the 10 years of £140,000 a year, and on a business that makes less than 1% profit. We can't. The 7-year rule with my father is unlikely to work, unfortunately, because life expectancy of a male is 79, which is what he turns this year. So he can't start handing. Well, he could hand stuff to us, but it might be in vain because he's too old. And the day the budget was announced, my mum came and found me and said, "Your father's really down." And I found him sat in his armchair, and he just said, "It's not fair." He said, "I've worked all my life and it'll be for nothing because I won't have a viable business to pass on to my two sons." And I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and my brother's got a 2-year-old daughter, and we would like to pass something to them, because in my mind we're only ever a custodian of the land. We're not owners. We never own it. We're just a custodian for the next generation.
Yeah, I understand that. And one of the things that I read also is that the government is looking to buy this land when your forced sales happen at the lower rate of land cost, and then they can make a profit on it when they sell it with planning permission on it and stuff like that.
This is the planning bill that's just been put through. That gives them the right to compulsory purchase land for development, and you're right, it's at the, I can't remember what the value is called, but it's at the lower value scale to then pass it on to the developer at a higher value scale, a bit like what's happened with HS2. They've compulsory purchased the land at value A, and then they're asking the farmers now, because he can't come through with HS2, to buy it back at the higher value B.
Yeah. And they've also done stuff with your cars, haven't they? They've
The
changed the
pickup
tax
trucks.
regime.
I'm not the person to ask about that. I don't know.
Oh, right, okay. But I gather they now tax it at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And there was also...
So I think they'll be taxed as a personal vehicle now, rather than a commercial vehicle.
So they're not hanging back, are they?
No, and they've taken away the SFI,
the
Sustainable Farming Initiative.
Of course, yes,
that's just gone, which
for new applicants,
which is fine for the people who've got their applications in or processing, but there was no warning with that either. The one thing, the common denominator with this government is everything is done without consultation, and happens overnight.
Yes. They just make it up as they go.
The NFU knew nothing about the IHT tax changes, and DEFRA, I would think, hardly knew that the SFI stuff was going to go until the night they announced it. 6 hours notice, I think we had. And that is, that's a lifeline. That is profit or loss, that SFI, and it was years in development to make or to encourage farmers to farm more sustainably for the environment.
They didn't even give you a warning about the IHT or anything, did they?
Nothing
at all. They just sort of dumped it on you and then blamed it all on someone else, which I find...
then they've decided to say that it's a choice between inheritance tax-free or the NHS, which is trying to make us look bad, because what they would gain from IHT would only keep the NHS going for about 24 hours.
Yes, yeah. It's not going to work out well for them in the long run. And it's our food security that is the most important thing.
So I've recently come back from a trip to America. And I stayed with a friend of mine and her family. And what staggered me about them is they have no trust in their homegrown food whatsoever.
No?
My friend said she would wash strawberries and red dye would come off of them.
Right.
So they don't trust their own food, whereas with British produced food, it is grown or produced to the best welfare standards in the world.
And we need to keep that.
Like, I am proud to be a food producer from the UK.
You should be.
But the government don't seem to care one iota about us.
And I really feel for the position you're in, because it's going to bankrupt a lot of people and it's going to force farmers off the land.
Well, as Rupert just said to the lady reporter, it's a knock-on. So I've got to pay 1.5 million. Then upon my death, my daughter will have to pay 1.5 million. So the asset just keeps diminishing and diminishing.
Yeah.
So in the end, there's no point in ever trying to grow a business.
No.
Because, Dad at the moment is trying to find a way of devaluing our business.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it there from someone who should know. He's doing it on a day-to-day basis. And thank you very much for your time.
That's quite right.
Thank you. And keep it going. We're right behind you.
We won't give up. We will not give up.
Yeah. Well, the government isn't giving up, though, is it?
No, they're not. But I think there was one report that the French farmers are attempting to come and give us a hand.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Thank you very much indeed.
Interesting. French farmers, who are prone to spraying a bit of slurry about, may be interested in coming across to help our farmer protests. Here's a taste of the tactics the French and Belgian farmers employ when they come up against their authoritarian governments. They build brick walls in front of government buildings, burn tyres and spray slurry about the place. Our farmers, though, have played, so far, by the UK protesting Queensberry rules. But this Labour government, far from just playing deaf and blind to the protests, is doing all it can to further destroy our agriculture sector. It is not engaging with farmers in any meaningful way at all, other than to keep piling the pressure and misery onto them. You therefore have to wonder if our farmers will be forced to take a leaf out of the European playbook in order to get a decent hearing. Don't you? And to all the Labour government supporting simpletons out there who just parrot the official farmers must pay their taxes line, I say, you don't understand farming then. As Justin Miller pointed out, farmers consider themselves custodians of the land because farms do not provide the income to pay huge death taxes. Unless you want to see the price of food skyrocket, of course. Maybe that's what needs to happen to bring some sense to the situation. But then, of course, the supermarkets will try to buy cheaper and more inferior food in from abroad. Is that what you want to see? Either that, or we'll see a sudden renewed push for us to eat insects and chemical foods made in factories, while the rich and powerful reserve real food for themselves. Finally, please like, subscribe and comment below, and a big shout out to our Patreon supporters, and thank you for watching.